Whoop, sorry about that. What's up, guys? Welcome to The Lore Reloaded. I am The Lore Reloaded, your wondrous host. I also have my editor here, though he probably won't stay. Nope, there he goes. Good to see all of you guys today. Hey, if you're watching this video on demand, you know exactly how this works. Definitely check me out at twitter.com/Lore Reloaded. Should anything happen to this channel, definitely make sure that you are following me on Twitter because that's where all the updates and everything will go. This is completely fan-funded. I do this for a living. It's how I keep my kids fed and going to school. So please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/Lore Reloaded, or you can also become a supporter by doing super chats, or becoming a sponsor of the channel by hitting that green button. With that out of the way, let's say hi to a couple of people, see what's going on. We got Micah Leith, who is coming to say hi. Of course, he's sleep deprived, as always. That's always good. Of course, I'll be doing morning stuff as well, so you won't be as sleep deprived, good sir. We got Jamie Haslam saying, "You rock, Lord." No, you rock, good sir. You rock. Okay, everybody just relax. We can now actually get started. Dank User is here. Dank User is here. John August says, care to join Section 31, everybody? Am I right? Am I right? Who else we got here? Then we about to get started. Darth Revan, always a fun time. Fat Man 50. All right. At Lore Reloaded, I have a feeling you are the head of Section 31. Man, I wish I was the head of Section 31. Seems like they'd pay a little bit better. All right, so let's just jump into it. Tonight, we're going to justify Section 31. We're going to take a look at it. We're going to break it down from beginning to end, or at least until I get tired, and maybe we'll do a part 2. But let's discuss Section 31, why it exists, how it exists, and everything of that nature. Now, first, the thing to consider with Section 31 is it started out as a human-only endeavor. If we remember in Enterprise, the United Earth, in fact, had a Section 31. Now, ultimately, that would roll into Starfleet and start working behind, but you can't ignore the fact that it was starting out a Section 31 entity, right? So, and it was human only for all intents and purposes, at least when we started out in Starfleet. Unless there was an Enterprise that had one that had a person that wasn't human, but I do believe it was human-centric. And during the time of Enterprise, they did do some things that would help out other species. For instance, I believe Section 31 worked in the best interests of the Klingon Empire, for all intents and purposes, while it was within the United Earth. Dank User, why is it called Section 31? I believe Section 31 was an article within Starfleet that existed. So it would still have been in Starfleet and just been incorporated. At Lore, could Section 31 exist pre-First Contact? I doubt it. I mean, unless you had Section 31 agents who worked in the 31st century and had somehow taken or been a part of the entity that was like the time agents and time cops and things like that, maybe they could work back from there, but I doubt, honestly, that they were before the beginning of Starfleet. But yeah, so as Corey was saying, it's from the Starfleet Charter. Starfleet actually existed before the Federation. It was a United Earth or a human entity, which became the military, and all of the other aliens joined in, or Xenos joined in from there. All the other species is a better way of saying it. So in Enterprise, we don't see a lot of Section 31. We know some of the main characters were Section 31. If you go into the beta canon, in fact, Tucker, who, spoilers for Enterprise, dies in Enterprise, becomes a part of Section 31 in the beta canon, in the books and everything. So Section 31, I think, was a good entity at that time, though they were still morally ambiguous. They didn't necessarily care. They weren't doing it because they were good people. They were doing it because it was what was necessary. And at that point, because they were so small, they only really did things that helped out everybody. They didn't really have the power to impact negatively. Andrew Close, at Lore Reloaded, Section 31 makes sense. Everybody needs an intel unit. Besides, Section 31 is where all cool, sneaky kids like to play with crazy toys and tech that no one else has. Now, Andrew Close, there actually is a Starfleet intelligence, but to your point, does every government need a Black Ops? Because that's what Section 31 is. They're Black Ops. They do the jobs that no one else can. So can Starfleet, can Star Trek, Starfleet, the Federation, can they exist and continue to move on without a Section 31? I honestly think that the during TNG, Roddenberry would be staunchly against it, but it makes more sense that they would be necessary, even with Federations at the ideals it has. Nate Watson up in the house, guys. It's like I tell you, I never want someone to give when they can't, but I always appreciate the super chats. It is my sole part of income, so thank you so much. Nate Watson, Section 31 exists to protect the Federation, so to justify Section 31, you have to justify the existence of the Federation. Given how many people are basically second-class citizens or marginalized in the Federation, that's hard. Now, I'd be interested in that second piece. Given how many people are basically second-class citizens or marginalized in the Federation, that's hard. Nate, expand on that a little bit. I don't know that I disagree with that, but I want to make sure we're on the same page with it. Obviously not, you don't have to do super chat, but let me know in the chat and expand on that, and I can give more of a comment to it. But I do agree that Section 31 more than likely has to exist to protect the Federation. The Federation couldn't exist without it. Especially since what Dank User says, everyone else has Black Ops. It's hard to really fight when you're restricted. Starfleet intelligence, that is the up and up, has to fight with the Obsidian Order, has to fight with the Tal Shiar. And it's hard to fight when they fight dirty. You said Star Trek. Yeah, Star Trek. Darth Vader, could the Federation exist without Section 31 with the Tal Shiar, Obsidian Order, Orion Syndicate, and Klingon Black Ops, whatever they are, and Dominion and Borg trotting around the galaxy? Exactly, that's what I was just saying. I don't think you can create these other entities like this and have them exist and continue to do well, right? So moving into Discovery, Section 31 doesn't play a whole hell of a lot in a good light there. And we have to do inference for all intents and purposes because we don't see them all that much. We do know that they hire Giorgio, and we do know that they're on Discovery, and they're more than likely behind some of the Spore Drive as well as other projects. And for right now, in Season 2, this is going to change, but for right now, we don't have a ton in there, but they're being set up to be the definitive bad guy in this case. And that'll be interesting to see, especially if the crew fights Section 31. Generally, Section 31 tries to stay out of Starfleet and the Federation's way. They don't have any interest in really causing trouble for Starfleet. They're all on the same team. They only go after Starfleet if they think they have traitors in their midst. Beyond that, they try to work with Starfleet. We're going to see that in Deep Space Nine when Admiral Ross teams up with Sloane. Or Bashir, at multiple points, pretends to team up so that they can take on outward threats. Again, I think that Section 31 is going to be a major villain in the... in Season 2 of Discovery, but that's not consistent with what we've seen of them so far. Coming back to Nate Watson, talking about marginalized people. Nate Watson, the Federation marginalized people are shown with the human dominance of Starfleet, the Cluster F with the DMZ discrimination against... Well... Where'd you go? Discrimination against genetically engineered people, sentient AI being slaves, etc. And those are some really good points. And that may go, and if you guys want us to go this way, we can. I'm not completely sure I want to. But to justify Section 31, you would have to justify the meaning of the Federation. Now, let's talk about the human dominance for a second. That comes up quite a bit. However, I'm not convinced that the Federation or Starfleet is dominated by humans. I think we see a lot of humans, but that's because we can better connect with them. Technology and cost was prohibitive for us to see aliens, and there is, in fact, justification and explanation for why we see majority humans on ships. Even in Starfleet, as progressive as it is, ships generally have species that are the common, that are the same. So humans generally will be on ships with other humans. Of course, you'll have other species, but mostly they stay with other humans. We see this in all of the like the Enterprise, TNG, the original series. Discovery, not as much. But even though it'd make more sense in Discovery. Enterprise, even though that wasn't the Federation. And in Deep Space Nine, we have ships that are specifically only Vulcan ships. Now, and consider this, and this is why this makes sense, and this is why I don't get too upset about that specific point. If you have species that have specific wants or needs or requirements, it makes sense for them to go together. You wouldn't have a species who doesn't require oxygen be on a ship with species that does, especially if oxygen is toxic to them. Vice versa, you wouldn't have a species that needs to breathe on a ship that doesn't require oxygen. Also, I wouldn't necessarily want to be on a Vulcan ship as the only human. So there are reasons for that. Now, other points that you bring up with the Federation makes sense. The way the Maquis were treated was absolutely horrific, especially in TNG, but also Deep Space Nine. We can lie to ourselves about that, but really, in Deep Space Nine, the Maquis were treated well below the way they should have been. You also brought up a couple of other interesting points as well. Data wasn't considered a person or a human being. They were more than happy to let Data be independent until they wanted to strip him apart. And then they had to go to court to determine if he was a person. And holograms still to this day, or as far as I'm aware, as of the upload of this video, are still considered AI, are still slaves. And we know that for certain, with the exception of possibly the Doctor, who is considered an artist, but possibly is not a citizen. So that's kind of interesting to me. So I think that is a good point. I think that it is a pretty good, interesting point to bring up when it comes to is the Federation worthy of being saved? Is it worthy of Section 31? And I think the Federation has a lot of issues. We'll probably talk about that maybe next Wednesday or maybe Sunday, so that's a good topic. But let's get back to Section 31. Admiral Alexander, hello, it's me, the person you kicked off the last stream. I kicked you off, well, first off, it wasn't me, but you got kicked off of the of us playing Star Trek Online because you weren't high enough. Now, if you join the fleet, or even if you don't, we'll make sure to get you to a level so you can play with us next time, man, but had to do it for us to continue to play there. So, moving on, TNG didn't have Section 31, but let me ask you guys this. Let me send it out to you. What do you think Section 31 was doing during the next generation? What were they doing in the background? And, of course, now I'm going to have to wait a couple of seconds to see where you guys are with that. But they were obviously in the background, right? We know they were there for certain. But what were they doing? At Lore Reloaded, in the final episodes of Voyager, future Janeway, wasn't it mentioned or at least implied that holograms do achieve rights? Oh, are you talking about where she goes back and changes the timeline so that timeline never occurs, possibly never giving rights to holograms? That one? It's possible. I wouldn't know in the dialogue. That'd be interesting. I would have forgotten it. I think the main reason I don't approve of Hollows being called sentient is in the last episode of Voyager where the Doctor marries a human and they pretend they are the same because of it. Okay. Yeah, Sinbad, I mean, next time you're on. So when it comes to Star Trek Online, for all those who want to be, it's first come, first serve, though I do want Crow or Dramas on with me because they help out a lot. But beyond that, we'll try to do missions where we can have more than 5 people, but if you show up, you're welcome to play. At Lore Reloaded, I beg to differ on that. On what? If there is a starship that threats the interest of the Federation, Section 31 will destroy it. Again, see Admiral Ross. So I'm not sure what you're specifically begging to differ. Nate Watson, I think the parasitic bugs may have compromised Section 31. So you think that maybe Section 31 was taken over by the parasitic agents. Now that would be interesting, but I don't really see a lot of evidence for that. I'd be curious what you think the impacts to that was. Jay Wigg, Section 31 is securing good relations with Klingons behind the scenes in TNG. Sinbad, problem is that I hope it won't be there in school. Are you talking about playing Star Trek Online? Section 31 is behind Wolf 359. I sincerely doubt that Section 31 is behind Wolf 359. If I had to guess, I would say that a lot of the advances we see within Section 31, within the Federation, especially in weaponry with the Defiant and such, probably had a lot of influence from Section 31. They probably pushed that. I also think that the Klingon Civil War that somewhat more weakened the Klingons and embarrassed the Romulans. I wouldn't be surprised if Section 31 played a significant role with that, if I'm being honest. I think that they were probably somewhat a part of what was going on there. And then there's just a lot of things that occurred. I think that with the phase cloak, for instance, they said that Starfleet Intelligence was watching that very closely. I think Section 31 was watching that as well. And even though Picard figured it out and Picard came out and told the Romulan Empire, I don't think the Section 31 gave up on that technology. And I think that probably that ship, the Oberth-class ship, found its way into Section 31 and they started using that technology. That would explain a lot of what the Section 31 could do in Deep Space Nine, just randomly appearing, utilizing transporters that can't be detected. And we'll go more into that when we get to Section 31. But looking at what you guys say, Darth Vader, people call sentience the same and don't recognize there are different sentience. E.g., a hologram is different from an android, is different from an organic life. An AI is only as smart as, and you keep getting cut off, as an AI is only as smart as you make it compared to an organic life. Yeah, but any way you degrade a hologram, in my opinion, you then hurt android rights. And we know that Data has android rights. The anti-Trekker, here comes trouble, now make it double. That's funny that that anti-Trekker now has a parody channel. At Lore Reloaded, if Discovery goes full exploring Section 31, I might start to like it a bit more if the USS Discovery becomes a Section 31 ship. Yeah, my problem with Discovery and Section 31 in Season 2 is that if they do that, they're going to do it as a negative, as an attack. They're going to make it the crew versus Section 31. I'm not really necessarily interested in that, if I'm being honest. I don't think it'll be done well. Now, here's an interesting thing. If Section 31 hires Georgiou, and that goes as bad as it seems, and Georgiou gains some power, and Section 31 teams up with Discovery, that could be interesting, especially when you have Discovery acting higher than thou, saying, we can't do this, this isn't right. That would be really intriguing, and I'd be very interested in seeing that. At Lore Reloaded, what would you think of the idea that Discovery being so screwed up is the direct result from the temporal Cold War and Enterprise, and more specifically, the Xindi attack? I think if they did that, I would instantly be interested again in Discovery. I think that could justify everything that has occurred with Discovery. I think that's a good way to wipe away season 1 and do it in a way that makes sense. I don't hate that. That's a good idea. I like the way you think. So you have Discovery, and then the Cold War turned season 1 into what it wasn't supposed to be, and then part of season 2 is undoing the temporal Cold War. I like it. It ties in. It fixes all of these issues. Hopefully they go. Mr. Miles, you should work for him. Do you think the new captain of the Discovery will be working for Section 31? I don't. Darth Vader at Lore Reloaded. I think Section 31 needs to stay in the dark and not explained much on screen because not explored much on screen because it ruins the mantra of staying in the shadows. Yeah. So here's a point, I guess. Section 31 is really enjoyed, is really liked because of what you just said, because we don't know a lot about it, because it's mysterious. So if they demystified Section 31 and made them a villain of the week or a villain of the season, then yeah, they'd lose a little of its mystique. You know? So, yeah, we'll go with that. Laughable Larry, always helping out the channel with $5. Thank you so much. By the way, I'm going to start having animations and stuff go along with that. I'm looking forward to that. Can we justify your love for Threshold? Can we justify? So I don't really like Threshold. That's always a joke. But if I was to give it my best shot, Threshold is probably one of the better Voyager episodes because it's one of the episodes where the actors were actually trying and were giving out their best. In fact, the actor of Tom Paris probably does some of his best acting work there. He's really trying. He's giving his chops. Additionally, Trek is always known for going outside of the box, of trying new things. I'm sorry, I just had to remove someone. Of trying new things, of going out, of doing everything you can to test the boundaries of storytelling. And I think we can all agree that Threshold definitely challenged storytelling, and especially used evolution in a way that's never been used before and never could be used. Man, why couldn't I think of that word? John August. Then the Galaxy class... Oh, you're talking to somebody else. Section 31 had nothing to do with the parasitic beings. Okay. At Lore Reloaded, Section 31 is a Federation security organization that does what needs to be done when a war or wipe out a crime organization by any means necessary to protect the Federation. Yes, I agree with that. I guess the only problem comes... let's see. Velita Petra Sinner, later mate, off to do my bit for Queen and Country. Well, thanks for coming by. Yeah, Section 31 does what others can't or don't want to do. It does what Starfleet intelligence is limited to do and counters the Obsidian Order, counters Tal Shiar. In fact, Section 31 is probably the best Black Ops within the entirety of the Trek universe. They're not even known. As far as we know, Tal Shiar don't know about him. Obsidian Order doesn't know about him. Certainly the Dominion didn't know about them. They're the most effective, most well-known. They make Obsidian Order and Tal Shiar look like child's play. Emperor Ricardus Arcturus Terras Hubertus. What about the black badges on Star Trek Discovery? Well, that's just bad writing and stupidity. There's no reason that you would have black badges and show yourself off. Some people have tried to say that they're Starfleet security, but we see other Starfleet security personnel that don't have black badges. And additionally, again, Section 31 is very pro-Starfleet. They want Starfleet to thrive. If they wanted Starfleet to thrive, they wouldn't wear badges that would people would recognize and get other people killed. I think that if you had a Section 31 officer who got Starfleet officers killed for no reason, for no good reason, that Section 31 agent would probably go missing. Probably quietly. Mr. Miles, do the Ferengi have a shadow organization? They might be the best, considering we've never seen them. Well, they might be better in Section 31, since we'd have no idea of what they are. I do think that Ferengi have security, and even have intelligence, though we don't know a lot about them. I do work for Section 31, though. That is true. What if Emperor Georgiou brings down Section 31 and another one rises from its ashes, and that is the plot of Season 2? Then Discovery will not surprise me and continue on with its horrific writing. Section 31's magic is because they truly are spooks, says the Devils Do. There's something said when you see other spy factions, and yet you see suddenly everyone is a member of them for no reason. Sure. Moving on to Deep Space Nine. This is where Section 31, we know basically most of what we know for now of Section 31, and that's due to the Dominion War. Now, I have always had the opinion that Section 31 probably does very well during conflict and war, and not so well during peacetime. Post-Wolf 359 in the short term, post the attack of Sector 001, the Dominion War, the Section 31 probably grown infinitely more powerful than it ever did during the Next Generation, or even during Enterprise. And probably even Discovery, though again, Season 2 will tell us more on that. And I think that the Dominion War probably made Section 31 a juggernaut, unstoppable. And I question if Section 31 would even give up its power after that, Section 31 would be so intriguing, so I don't know. I mean, they're able to poison, they're able to genocide, and it be okay with the highest echelons of Starfleet. Think about that. Starfleet Security, Starfleet Medical, Starfleet Intelligence, Admiral Ross. So many Starfleet officers just sat back and said, yeah, you know what? This makes sense. Let's listen and do what Section 31 wants us to do. Can you imagine that? Nate Watson, I wonder if Section 31 was supporting a Klingon house like the Romulans with Duras in the 21st century. Was this a factor in the Civil War for me? I wouldn't be surprised if Duras, going back to that for a second, if Duras may have not only been supported by the Romulans, but supported by Section 31. Consider that. Duras has always been a thorn in Starfleet's side. Duras has consistently and constantly went after the Federation. The Duras family, the Duras line, is a threat to the Federation forever and always. We see them as a threat during Discovery. We see them as a threat during the original series and into the movies. And then we see them as a destabilizing factor in the Next Generation. So, the Section 31 assists, just like we see the Romulans assisting the Duras. And they prop them up, and they help them, and they sabotage other houses to get them more power, to bring them up. And then, when the Civil War stops, Section 31 works towards destabilizing and stopping Duras. And how interesting would that be if they actually played that role? And so Duras is not only supported by Section 31, but then sabotaged. And so the Klingon War happens. Duras, the name of Duras and the House of Duras is completely destroyed. You've now removed a threat from the Federation. Something to consider. Laughable Larry, I'm counting on your opinion if I should see Solo or not. I'm not watching Solo. By the way, guys, if you're watching this, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you aren't subscribed to the channel. As I tell you guys always, this is completely fan-funded. I do this every day, 40 hours a week, so that I can put food on the table. Consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/Lore Reloaded, and check me out at twitter.com/Lore Reloaded for all kinds of fun stuff. Oh, cool thing, too, while I'm thinking about it. Geek Remix. If you like Geek Remix, I'm already in talks with them to do a podcast. And they said they'd come on the show. So I'm looking forward to that. But back to what we were talking about. At Lore Reloaded, been playing Star Trek Online. Since I heard it being considered semi-canon somewhere, if there was to be Section 31 content, what would you want to see? If there is some already, I haven't seen it. There is Section 31 content on there already. Star Trek Online calls themselves soft canon. Soft canon is, if it hasn't happened on screen, then it's considered canon on Star Trek Online. I'm okay with that, but I still don't consider it alpha canon. Because you can say that about the books. If it happened in the books and not on screen, then you can consider canon until the screen overrides it. Now, I love the guys at Star Trek Online, don't get me wrong. Star Trek is great, and it's great to play if you love Star Trek. So you definitely should do that. But I don't consider it alpha canon when I'm doing an alpha canon series. Hope that answers the question. At Lore Reloaded, the DS9 episode in the Pale Moonlight would have had a great plot for Section 31. I wonder how much Section 31 was aware of that. And it might have been intriguing if Section 31 was working in the background to assist Garrick. Garrick was a part of the Obsidian Order, and then was outcast. How valuable would Garrick have been to Section 31 and helping Section 31? And I wonder how valuable Garrick would have found Section 31. I think that's worth a consideration. Section 31, Civil War post-Nemesis. Some might not want to step back into the shadows. Yeah, see, Section 31 I don't think works like that. They're like the Romulans, only probably with a bit more of a spine. If they were to conduct a civil war, they would kill people and assassinate and have ships randomly explode. I don't think there would be an all-out war, quote-unquote, as we see it or think of it, per se. Cisco is Section 31 sleeper agent. I mean, given Cisco, what he does in A Pale Moonlight, what he does to the Maquis, I could see him being convinced possibly by Section 31. I think it would take some writing, and I think the situation would have to be correct. I don't think, like, off the cuff, he would just instantly watch or instantly be Section 31, but I think he could be coerced or talked into it, especially like during In a Pale Moonlight. Should Section 31 official become a security organization to the Federation? No, if you're going to have Section 31, they should stay in the background. They should stay in the shadows. Should not become official. I think that there's a huge issue if that was to happen. Jackson Kennedy up in the house. Also, Hot Wheels F. Hot Wheels F, hope you're doing well. Should Section 31 official... no, you said that. I like Section 31. I'd like you to consider Cisco being a member or at least soldier of them. Look at Reddit page. I mean, I already just talked about it. I haven't read it on Reddit. Definitely, I'll go and take a look at that. But, you know, I haven't gone that far into it. At Lore Reloaded, Starfleet had Section 31, Romulans have Tal Shiar, and Cardassians had the Obsidian Order. What do Klingons have? Some would say that it's not honorable to have a Black Ops. We know that Klingons have an intelligence agency, and that their agents will go undercover. To the extent, I couldn't tell you. And I wouldn't be surprised if they had a Black Ops, honestly, if I'm just being honest with everybody. By the way, guys, since everybody's here too, if you want to be a part of the Discord, because I do have a Discord, and I need to start pushing that a lot more, links there, you can definitely join. Oh, Lord. Apparently, Klingon intelligence is actually pretty good, at least gathering military info. Okay. Section 31 is watching your holodecks for blackmail. I don't know how impactful. I don't know how impactful blackmail would have worked as much as quote unquote progressive as the Federation or Starfleet come to be, because it seems like there would be a lot of I don't know, flourishing and not being embarrassed by sexual escapades. Darth Vader, did you hear about the stormtrooper who shot an Oberth and missed, but the Oberth ship exploded anyway? I did, because that's exactly how that would work. Exactly. Completely nailed it. But yeah, so in Deep Space Nine, Section 31 play a very prominent role, and basically would have won the war even if Starfleet had lost, I think. And I'm going to be doing a series on that, where we talk about the Starfleet losing the war, but the Dominion not being able to cure the xenophage, not the xenophage, but whatever, the disease that Section 31 creates. And so what occurs at that point? That would be anarchy and civil war. And I think that the Alpha Quadrant would have probably ultimately been able to even overthrow them, if you think about it. And I think that would have been an interesting conversation. Hayner Tim says you could still blackmail people for their criminal actions, or if they were pro-capitalism, you could do that. Do you think Dominion had a Black Ops? Probably. But they're probably Jem'Hadar, and it was probably more brute strength. I don't think it was what we think when we think Tal Shiar. The Dominion had been unopposed for so long, they really forgot how to fight other than using brute force. And I think they had to relearn how to do that. Now, that's not to say that they didn't have diplomacy and they didn't know how to work people over, but when it came to fighting a full-on war, they hadn't fought it for so long that they just didn't know what they were doing. Admiral Alexander, do you think Admiral Layton was with Section 31? Layton was the original captain of the Lakota, and on the Who also put Starfleet into a civil war. I don't think so, because I don't think Section 31 would have wanted the Federation or Starfleet in a civil war. And I don't even know that Section 31 would have pushed for an authoritarian regime. I think they probably would have resisted Layton, honestly. I could see them debating the rationale of having Starfleet authoritarianism versus Federation authoritarianism. But I don't think they could. I think they was seen the forest for the trees in that and saw that that would not have been positively impacted. At Lore Reloaded, to gather good intelligence on a current enemy and possibly future enemies, you have an elite spy network like Section 31 to keep an eye on the threats and eliminate them. I agree. No one expects the Exocomps Black Ops. Yeah, that's exact. So Section 31 isn't the worst. It's the Exocomp Black Ops that rules the world, because no one knows of them at all. It's been so long since guerrillas were effective, they no longer know how to fight against them, says Jonathan Medina. Yes. Talking about the Dominion. Yes. I think that in diplomacy and in brute strength, the Dominion rocks it out. And in technology at the beginning. See, here's the thing about the Dominion. They started out really well, but they didn't have the military infrastructure to win the war in the long run. They had more powerful technology. But this technology was designed by other species. They didn't really worry or concern themselves with putting that forward. Whereas the Federation constantly improved its technology. They had Vorta and did have some form of intelligence, but they didn't have Section 31. In fact, they went out of their way to destroy the Tal Shiar. They went out of their way to destroy the Obsidian Order because those two would be a threat, because they hadn't built an anti-intelligence to that. And so that's why they wanted them destroyed. And so, I think there's more justification for why that happened, and why ultimately, when put on similar terms where equal ships, equal technology, they got the hell beat out of them. Justify Section 31? Sure. No Section 31, UFP loses the Dominion War, and your genuinely frightening scenario comes true. Human tolerate slave race, quickening on Earth, etc. Yeah, I think that's true. Here's the thing with Trek. It does one of the bad writing aspects to it is that they do write and build it around a thought, and then they justify that thought a lot of the times. There's no way that Section 31 doesn't make sense in Deep Space Nine, the way it's been written. A lot of people can get upset and can sit here and say, hey, this isn't what Gene Roddenberry wanted. But given all of the threats, there's no other way for them to do anything. Captain Moroni, I haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're doing good, bud. And you say, and I'm betting Discovery will retcon Section 31 sabotaging praxis. That would be interesting. Section 31 sabotaging praxis, which would make sense, especially during the Cold War. I think they're going to make Section 31 a big bad and then destroy them, which, again, only hurts the cause. Though they may try to justify it as Section 31 being so damaged, that's why we don't see them in the original series and the Next Generation. They had to rebuild, but that just doesn't work for me, honestly. Section 31 Founders virus keeps the Founders from infiltrating the UFP. Before it, they almost caused a UFP civil war. Well, that's a good point, Moroni. I didn't think about that. In DS9 episode Hippocratic Oath, if O'Brien had let Bashir cure Jem'Hadar's reliance on the White, would they have openly revolted and taken down the Dominion? See, I don't know. I think most Jem'Hadar would have fought that and would have not accepted, while there would have been some turn against them. But you got to remember, the Jem'Hadar thought the Founders were gods. That was keyed into them. It was written into their genetics. It was an anomaly when a Vorta or a Jem'Hadar said, no, I don't like the Founders. It wasn't just them being conditioned to be that way. It was genetic, in my opinion. And so, would it have done better? There would have been Jem'Hadar they could have helped and could have saved. Most Jem'Hadar would have stayed with the Founders. Jay Wiggs, I'm going to get a prepaid credit card to help out you and Anti-Trekker. Well, thanks, Jay Wiggs. I appreciate it. At Lore, I figure Klingons joined the Feds when they realize that humans tend to find glorious enemies and battles by exploring. That could make sense, especially when you look at the Vulcans, who just love exploring. Backed up by Klingons would be a very interesting combination, I think. Discovery might destroy them. You can't destroy Section 31. You can hinder them, but you can't fully destroy them. Yeah, they're like Hydra. In that way, when you chop off one head, multiple come by. By the way, guys, I'm going to mention this one more time, and I appreciate you not getting frustrated about it. But if you like the channel, please consider becoming a YouTube sponsor. You can hit that sponsor button in the top right-hand corner. Super chats, or become a patron for as little as $1 a month at patreon.com/Lore Reloaded. It is literally how I keep the lights on here. I appreciate your guys' consideration. Dark Days. In the event that Earth was destroyed or affected by the quickening, do you think Section 31 would have used biological weapons on the Vorta, Jem'Hadar, and Servitor Gamma Quadrant race? I think that should the Federation had started losing and had lost at the battle of at the Sacrifice of Angels, I think that Section 31 would have had it all holds bar, all let go. I mean, all kinds of chemical warfare. In Discovery, really, I wouldn't be surprised everything that they did during the Klingon War. Honestly, we should have seen them more prevalent. Andrew Close bringing up a good point. By the way, guys, did you know we have a Discord? If you're interested, there was a link in the chat. I'll keep it in the description after this has gone live. We also have our own Star Trek Online fleet, Guardians of the Lore, Guardians misspelled, Gaurdians. And we play every Tuesday on twitch.tv/Lore Reloaded and other times. Definitely more people join, and more people join, more will be active. I think Section 31 would have jumped on Voyager when it got back and gone through it with a fine-tooth comb. I completely agree with that. what would Section 31 look like in the mirror universe? You know, interestingly enough, it'd be curious if Section 31 was maybe like this good organization that tried to hold back the Terran Empire. An interesting storyline might have been Section 31 helping or assisting Spock in turning the entirety of the Starfleet around, of the Terran Empire around, making them good. That would have been interesting. Do you think Section 31 had hidden ships during the Dominion War? I do, and I think they had phase cloaks. There's absolutely no alpha canon for that, but it explains everything that goes on. Andrew Close, good night. Early workday tomorrow. Keep it up. Thanks so much, Andrew Close. It explains everything. Everything becomes much, much more clearer if they had these ships, these cloaked ships. So I think they do. I don't think they had a fleet. I don't think they could have won any war, but I think, like the Tal Shiar, they had their only ships there. Nate Watson, one of the Voyager novels, actually has the idea of an agent on Voyager. She set up a gel pack to kill 7 of 9, but died before it could be used. Do you know the name of that out of curiosity? Because I'd be very, very interested in seeing that. That's an interesting concept. Let me ask you guys, what do you think? Do you think there was a Section 31 agent on Voyager? And if so, why? What would have the impacted to the story have been? Mirror Sector 31 is WikiLeaks. Yeah, that's what Section 31 is in the Federation. It's WikiLeaks. Nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. TNG episode where they go get the phase cloak could be Section 31. We already talked about this, Stephen Fiddler. I do think that Section 31 actually was controlling Starfleet intelligence. And even though Picard blew the whistle off of it, I do, in fact, think that Section 31 got their hands on that cloak and mass-produced it. Mass being relative, probably for a couple of ships. Absolutely. Random question number 1. Did you watch any of the Star Trek films, or at least saw Star Trek versus Babylon 5 vids? If so, what did you think of them? Did you watch any of the... I don't think so. I don't remember that. Maybe, but I don't remember that. I think the Klingons stopped fighting the Feds once they realized that even if they lost, the Federation would help rebuild them. Defeat has no sting. Victory has no savor. Maybe. Gene Roddenberry wanted a perfect Federation. He did, and generally, when he was in control, did pretty horrific when it came to ratings and what people wanted to watch. I said Star Trek. I didn't mean Trek. Okay, well, I don't remember that at all, no. Was the Voyager special at her launch? Don't see why Section 31 would care. It's not as if they expected Janeway to strand the crew. I mean, that's true. I don't think the launching of the Intrepid or Voyager was anything to smirk at or be interested in. So them not having an agent on there wouldn't make sense. Corey 2000, you can't post a link because YouTube won't allow you. Not because I don't want you to, just YouTube won't allow you. If you would like to, send it to me in email and tell me you've sent it. And assuming it's on the up and up, I'll share it because it doesn't mind if I do it. Innocuous remark, helping out the channel as always, guys. That's how I feed my kids. Thank you so much. Voyager didn't need Section 31. They left space dock with a 3-meter thick layer of plot armor. That is true. That is true. And in fact, Voyager probably, and I'm saying this unironically, I know I give them a hard time, but I'm saying this unironically. Voyager, in a lot of instances, did more damage to the Delta Quadrant and crippled more governments than I think Section 31 ever could, honestly. And sometimes it was on purpose, sometimes it wasn't, sometimes it was by implication, sometimes it wasn't. But I mean, seriously, they really did. And that's just intriguing to me. 31 definitely had an agent on Voyager because they set it up to get taken. Okay. Thinking about Janeway's choices along the way, she could have been a Section 31 agent. Yeah, I mean, that is one way. Shannon Nash. All right, everybody. All right, Shannon Nash has just entered. This is her first ever chat post. So let's see. Here we go. If Section 31 was on Voyager, they wouldn't do anything to bring attention to themselves. They wouldn't do anything to compromise their position or the organization. That's fair. Here's another interesting piece on that, Shannon, to think about. What if the operative sat back and just gained all of the information that Voyager had, that they tapped into the computer and just continued to log information, and when they could, sent that information to Section 31. So Section 31 got all of this new technology and the use of it and the ability to reverse engineer it. And all of this information on the Borg. How interesting would that be? When are we going to get your review of Threshold, asks the Anti-Trekker. Anti-Trekker, there is an Anti-Anti-Trekker here. Just so you know. And apparently the Anti-Trekker also... Did you change your icon? Because it looks like you changed your icon. Mr. Miles, that's a good point. Oh, you're talking about someone. Janeway, in my opinion, was 100% completely unjustified in her actions to stop the Omega molecule, and is a prime example of doing damage to the Delta Quadrant. Mega molecule or not, she is a prime example of doing damage to the Delta Quadrant. Honestly, the Voyager crew, Voyager itself, acted like a what's the word I'm looking for? Not a snowmobile, but a truck that plows the snow. So like a truck plow or whatever you call it. And when they were going through the Delta Quadrant, they would cause harm or good based on what that part of it was. So they'd be like a snow plow. So sometimes they would devastate whatever area they were in. Other times they would help people out. Anti-Tracker, notice he didn't answer dodging the threshold question. Well, if you actually stayed during all of my live streams and watched it completely, you would know that that has already been asked and addressed, and I've even talked about Section 31. So you'll have to go back and find it. Just watch the entire stream. You can do it, buddy. I have faith in you. Shouldn't Section 31 get all the Borg tech along with Voyager at the end of the series? I could see them making a try for it, but given how popular and how public Section 31 was, I would not be surprised if they weren't able to do it. You know, it wouldn't surprise me at all, if I'm being honest. But, I mean, they would probably get all of the information on the back end. They would probably have it all downloaded. Because, again, they have just everybody in their pocket, right? They have Starfleet Intelligence. They have Starfleet Medical, Starfleet Security. So there's no way they're not getting this. Section 31 could use the tech and do the experiments that were banned by treaty or Federation law. They're also probably the ones smuggling in the Romulan L. Probably. Raz Grizz Revenge says, who cares what the Voyager crew did to a group of people? All they wanted to do was get home. I don't think anyone cared if someone got hurt. Not sure what that's in reference to, but of that I would agree. They wanted to get home and they were willing to hurt people regardless. Tuvok could have been a Section 31 agent. He had spy training and had come from somewhere. Fourth try, notice me some... Mr. Miles, I've been reading a lot of yours, good sir. I've been reading a lot of yours. It's possible, though I don't see a complete or huge justification for it. Sci-Fi Sith Dan, if your idea with Section 31 is an interesting idea, I think they were on Voyager, they would send all the new advanced tech to the Federation, making the Federation more powerful. Not necessarily. Section 31 Section 31 was smart about what they did and how they went about it. And I think they would have kept some technology for themselves and not just given it all to the Federation or Starfleet. Because ultimately, the Federation is going to get it anyway. But they would have a step up. They could be using it. Laughable Larry, again, helping out the channel, helping me keep the lights on. Things like this that helps me out. Thanks you guys so much. I think a Section 31 agent on Voyager would have been awesome. Could have been a series-long mystery. Hell, the Doctor could have been an agent. Yeah, unfortunately, they either didn't use it or it wasn't completely in process when Voyager was going on. And it might have felt like a stretch to get Section 31 on there, but it could be very interesting. It could have been something very, very cool. And I'm not against it. It's too bad they didn't go that way. At Lore Reloaded, temporal agents equal Section 31. See, and that's what I was wondering. So the temporal agents work for an entity that I believe came after the Federation, after Starfleet, because they never really say they're a part of Starfleet, that they've just moved past it, or really given some examples. And I wonder if Section 31 continued and co-opted part of that, and you have a Section 31 within that organization. That would be very interesting to me. The Doctor could be Section 31 and not even know it. Plus, he had chances to check back in with them when he went back to the Alpha Quadrant. EMH is the perfect agent. Yeah, but I mean, maybe, but how would they know that that was going to happen? Unless they made every EMH have that kind of subroutine. And that kind of, that seems like too much of a chance that they'd be caught, if you asked me. Let's see. Bryson Fought. Thank you so much. Janeway is a perfect for Section 31. She'd do anything. Yeah, and she didn't care who she hurt unless you were a part of her family. So that makes sense. Anti-tracker, when's the real show start? Says Laughable Lair. Whatever, sir. I could see Section 31 on Voyager if they knew they were going to the Delta Quadrant, but wouldn't they send someone to investigate a random ship disappearance? Maybe, but they didn't know that in advance. So it would make sense if they couldn't get there, you know? What do you think of the theory that the Borg only attacked in the first contact due to Sisko being away with Eddington? That theory doesn't make a lot of sense. And this is the real show. Yes, correct. Lore Reloaded. Section 31 studied Voyager, realized how effective Janeway and crew was at ruining a whole quadrant, and formed a new super mega agency on Voyager called Deck 31. Yeah, that's actually training. So when Voyager got back, they require, my editor's here, they require you to read and become very adept at Section 31. And that's how they do it. Anthony Dukes, Lore, I love the anti-tracker pre-show. Well, hey, I'm here for you, buddy. Whatever. At Lore Reloaded, Spot is here. Ew, why don't you like Spot? Everybody likes Spot. Spot's awesome. Best super chat ever on this channel. Oh, whoops. Anti-tracker was put in timeout for 300 seconds. Oh, no. I'm sorry, Anti-tracker. That was such an accident. Oh, no. Spot is a lizard. That is true. Pumpkin is a lizard as well. At Lore Reloaded, Deck 31 on a ship with 16 decks. You'd never find it. It's the perfect cup. That's right. That's why Sovereign has the extra deck. The Sovereign has the extra deck. Because you'll never find it. Ever. Whoa. All right, guys, I'm going to be ending this soon. Do you guys have any questions or anything? Mr. Pete channel, what is going on, good sir? Hope you are doing well. This is starting to sound a lot like the 7 and 9 rabbit hole of downloading too much information, though coming back via a Borg transwarp conduit would make sense if they were trying to get Borg info. I agree. Miranda Exposium versus TIE Interceptor. Probably the TIE Interceptor will win. I don't think Section 31 had anyone on Voyager, simply because they never had a Section 31 episode. Yeah, I mean, that's all fan fiction. That's all trying to make good, but yeah. Flucus X is out. Good night to you too, good sir. Good night to you too. At Lore Reloaded, if you're going to captain, would you work with... If you were a captain, would you work with Section 31? Depends on when and what. I'd work with Section 31 during the Dominion War to win the Dominion War for sure. Beyond that, I'm not sure. Sunday, I'm probably going to do a stream. I'm going to try to stay on a lot longer than this Sunday. I'm going to do a stream about is the Federation evil? I think that's a good idea. I will... What is tomorrow? Tomorrow's Wednesday. Tomorrow's Thursday. I'll be doing a morning show. So you guys should check me out tomorrow morning. Going to have a video up tomorrow. And tomorrow's probably going to be a Expanse video. And then, of course, on Friday, innocuous remark, end of show question. What probably needs its own show to answer? Why does Trek have no robots or automation? It does have automation. They don't have many robots. They do have androids. I would say that... That's a good question. Anti-Tracker, what are your thoughts on that? Why does Trek have no androids or automation? It has automation, but why does... Or automatons, maybe. David Deister, have you... Let me get back. I'll come back to you in a second, David. Let me continue on with innocuous remark. Yeah, they had the exocomps. That's a good point, Caravaggio. You know, they probably... With the exocomps, that's a great point. They probably did have robots and automatons and automation. We just don't see a lot of them because we're on the like the Enterprise and stuff where they don't use them as much. So they probably did have them. We just don't see them, which makes it interesting when you consider the case for Data. And then you even consider the exocomps that may be live. Every time they do this, it's another species. Laughable Larry says, flush lore. I'm going to be getting animation so you guys can get that too. Have you ever watched the Star Trek Continues finale to Boldly Go? I haven't. I've watched a lot of Star Trek Continues, but not the finale. I really like Star Trek Continues. Star Trek Continues does come off as fan fiction. I don't think it's necessarily a replacement, but I do like Star Trek Continues. I'd love to have some of the guys on. I may do lore based on Star Trek Continues. Actually, I did. If you guys check my archives, I did a lore on Spock and him taking over or fighting the Terran Empire, and completely based on Star Trek Continues. I use their footage. Bryson Fott says, get some longer streams. I want to do streams as long as 2 or 3 hours. I probably am going to be able to start doing that. Unfortunately, there's going to be some changes coming up. As I said, I'm do this full time to keep the lights on, and because of that, I'm going to be able to do longer streams. I just got to find that sweet spot between getting you 5 videos a day and still being able to do 3 or 4 streams. Even with someone doing 3 of my 5 videos, that is somewhat of a long request. And some of my longer streams are going to be on twitch.tv/Lore Reloaded, so go over there and definitely make sure that you're subscribed, because I'll be doing games and hanging out there. At Lore Reloaded, Nanomachines, son, don't they have them? If they do, those are made robots. Yeah, Nanomachines, exocomps, they do have robots. They have automatons. Anti-Tracker can do it plus work 40 hours. No excuse. Yeah, Anti-Tracker doesn't do 3-hour live streams. But if he does, I will look up to that for sure. Definitely, guys, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. As I said, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/Lore Reloaded. Check me out at twitch.tv/Lore Reloaded. And come hang out with me on Twitter, twitter.tv/Lore Reloaded. Definitely stay tuned. I will be having a show tomorrow morning. And I should be having a show Friday night as well. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Guys, I'm going to see you on the next... Nope, I got to stop. 24/7 lore stream. I tell you what, if you guys want to, I'll actually be doing a... I'll be doing Extra Life and raising money for kids. And so definitely you'll have me on a full 24/7 then. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. And, oh, man, you guys keep asking questions. Darth Revan, tomorrow, probably 11 p.m. Central Standard Time. Now, here we go. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'm going to see you on the next Lore Reloaded.